Kethevane Gorjestani is with me here on our international affairs editor. Kethevane, how on earth have the two men been preparing? Very different, two men, man and woman, been preparing. Very different, isn't it?
Very, very different. For Kamala Harris, it's the traditional preparation. She's been doing that for more than a week now. Highly choreographed sort of mock debate preparation with a mock stage, with TV lights, just to really get into the situation of a debate. She even has an advisor playing Donald Trump down to the boxy suit and the long tie. So really to have someone that looks a little bit like Donald Trump, the same man who actually was playing Donald Trump back in 2016 when Hillary Clinton was preparing for her debate. The advisors, they're really trying to prepare Kamala Harris. And Hillary Clinton had a very clear summary of what Kamala Harris needs to do. She should not be baited. She should bait him. So that is how they're really trying to prepare to get her to get under Donald Trump's skin. For Donald Trump, it's also clear the message is that he does not do debate preps. They don't even call it debate prep. They call it policy time. That's how they've presented it. They had a handful of these policy times, basically a few advisors gathering with Donald Trump for a couple of hours at a time and talking about policy, trying to give him a refresher on the policy issues that they want him to talk about. But it seemed to be, according to several reports, that he is actually preparing a little bit more than he did back in 2016 and 2020. He has Representative Matt Gaetz, who's playing the guy asking the tough questions to get him to answer those tough questions. And he has Tulsi Gabbard. She was a Democrat turned Trump supporter, and she debated Vice President Kamala Harris back in 2019 during the Democratic primary, and she attacked her pretty well. So she is helping Donald Trump. And of course, Donald Trump's main preparation for any real big political event is to say that the rules are rigged against him. That's how he has done in the past. He's saying that ABC is going to rig the rules against him, that they're playing for the Democrats, so that if he seems to be winning the debate, it will make that win even better. And if he doesn't do very well, he'll just say, well, these odds were already stacked against me.
Who's got the most to gain? Who's got the most to lose, do you think?
That clearly is Kamala Harris. She has the most to gain simply because people don't know her as well as they do Donald Trump. A recent poll showed that 90% of voters say that they know everything they need to know about Donald Trump to make their decision. Barely 70% say the same thing about Kamala Harris. So she has that extra 20% of people that maybe she could convince during that debate. She hasn't really been on the campaign trail for that long, even if she is the vice president. And she's also only done a couple of these big debates, the Democratic primary back in 2020 and the vice presidential debate against Mike Pence. And both times she did pretty well. Some of her most memorable lines were against Joe Biden, who was running against her, and against Mike Pence. But with the possibility of a lot of gain comes a lot of risk. Also, she's going to have to defend some of her policy switches. At the same time, she's going to have to sort of lay out her vision for the United States. And as I said earlier, she's going to have to try to get under Donald Trump's skin, throw him off his game. For Trump, the biggest challenge is going to be stay on message. That's what the Republicans have been telling him to do. Lindsey Graham wrote an op-ed saying he should focus on policy, not on barbs. That is going to be the trick for him. He hasn't been doing great about that in recent weeks. He called her stupid. He called her incompetent, questioned her race, questioned her gender. He knows that his base loves it, but the problem is that it could sort of throw off the independents, the moderate Republican, especially the women in those groups, and he has a big gap to fill with women voters against Kamala Harris, who leads him by about 14 points when it comes to female voters.
It's going to be fascinating to see what topics come up as well, and whether they're really going to get into a nitty-gritty policy discussion between the two of them, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that will be, again, whether Kamala Harris manages to get on the policy and whether Donald Trump sticks to policy. If he does, there are basically three words for Donald Trump: the economy, immigration, crime. These are the three issues that Republicans believe they have an advantage over Democrats on. So he's going to try to sort of tie her to some of the failed policies of Joe Biden, while at the same time doing what he's done in the past couple of weeks, which is say basically she's going to be Joe Biden, only she's going to be worse than him because she's incompetent, because she is stupid. For Kamala Harris, there's going to be a mix of substance and style. On substance, there's one big issue that she knows is her real weapon: abortion. She knows that it's a weakness for Republicans, and especially for Donald Trump, who has himself been wavering about where really he stands on abortion. And she's going to have to use those prosecutorial skills that we've been talking about to, again, try to throw him off of his game. That is why her team wanted those microphones to be on the whole time. They didn't win on that. The mics will be off when the candidate is not speaking. So she's going to have to sort of get him to show his unruly self without the help of those open mics. And it's going to be crucial, this debate, because, and we have to repeat it multiple times now, we always talk about Election Day, November 5th. Don't forget that millions of Americans are going to start voting, especially in Pennsylvania. They're going to start voting on Monday.
And in 24 hours' time, we will be here once again, Kethevane and me, to digest that debate for you here on France 24. And if